Hello and a very good evening. You're watching the news tonight. I'm Frank Rausen Pereira, and we'd like to start with an appeal that we would like to make to you. Rajya Sabha TV appeals to all its viewers to stay safe from the COVID-19 pandemic. Wear face masks, wash your hands and face regularly, and maintain physical distancing while stepping outside. Remember, these simple precautions are all that it takes to defeat the pandemic. And now let's bring you the headlines. Union Cabinet approves STARS project to improve school education under new education policy. Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh get special package under National Rural Livelihood Mission. Heavy rains claim 25 lives in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. Prime Minister assures all possible help to the chief ministers of both states. President, Vice President express grief over loss of life and property. In election-bound Bihar, Chief Minister Nitish Kumar addresses rally in Banka district. BJP names 35 candidates in the fourth list. RJD leader Tejasvi Yadav files nomination from Raghopur. Unlock 5 guidelines. Cinema halls to open tomorrow after almost 7 months in many states. COVID-19 recoveries continue to go up across the country. Active cases maintain a downward trend. New milestone for Rajya Sabha TV. Its YouTube subscribers cross 5 million. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu congratulates RSTV on this achievement. Let's begin with our top focus in the bulletin this evening. The Union Cabinet on Wednesday approved some major decisions, including the STARS project under the new National Education Policy to support states in strengthening the school education system. Prime Minister Modi has hailed the Cabinet's decision to approve a special package of 520 crore rupees for Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. With an aim to support states in strengthening the school education system, the Union Cabinet approved the STARS project under the new education policy. STARS, or Strengthening Teaching, Learning and Results for States project, will be implemented by the Education Ministry and will cover Himachal Pradesh, Rajasthan, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Kerala and Odisha. The World Bank supported project is estimated to cost 5,718 crore rupees.
कि अब जो शिक्षा होगी वो रट्टा लगाकर पढ़ाई करना नहीं है। पढ़ाई समझकर सीखना, ये मतलब है पढ़ाई का। और इसके लिए ये स्टार्स कार्यक्रम बना है, जिसको मंजूरी दी है। 3700 करोड़ रुपए वर्ल्ड बैंक भारत सरकार को देगा। वो भारत सरकार इस कार्यक्रम में लगाई है। राज्य सरकारें 2000 रुपये अपना देंगे। और अभी ये 6 राज्यों में हिमाचल, राजस्थान, मध्य प्रदेश, महाराष्ट्र, केरल और उड़ीसा में ये वर्ल्ड बैंक असिस्टेड प्रोग्राम चलेगा।
The Union Cabinet also approved a special package of 520 crore rupees for Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh under the National Rural Livelihood Mission. The decision is in line with the centre's aim to universalize all centrally sponsored beneficiary-oriented schemes in the 2 union territories in a time-bound manner.
ग्रामीण कश्मीर, लद्दाख, जम्मू में बसे 2/3 परिवार इस योजना में शामिल होंगे। इसके लिए दीनदयाल अंत्योदय राष्ट्रीय आजीविका मिशन का फायदा सबको मिले, इसलिए आज 520 करोड़ का एक विशेष पैकेज जम्मू कश्मीर एवं लद्दाख के लिए दिया है।
In other decisions, the cabinet gave in principle approval to the demerger of the Naganar steel plant from the National Mineral Development Corporation and in Chhattisgarh's Bastar. An agreement was signed between the Ministry of Jal Shakti and Australia for collaboration in capacity building, research and development, and making impact for sustainable groundwater management was also agreed upon. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television. Well, normal life was thrown out of gear in Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Karnataka and Odisha as heavy rains continue to lash these states. 25 people have died in rain-related incidents in the entire region. In Telangana, there are 15 deaths, while at least 10 have lost their lives in Andhra Pradesh. Yes, Mo.
Heavy rains disrupted normal life in many parts of Telangana, including capital city Hyderabad on Wednesday. Hundreds of people in low-lying areas were shifted to relief centers in Hyderabad as storm waters flooded their houses. Rivers and drains were overflowing at many places in the state. The government advised people to stay indoors for the next 2 days as more rains are expected in the state. All private institutions, office and non-essential services have been shut for next 2 days. The Met Department said the present spell of rainfall was one of the heaviest that Hyderabad had experienced in the last 100 years. Heavy rains continued to pound Andhra Pradesh, causing heavy damage to roads and disrupting power supply in several places. For the second time in less than 20 days, the Krishna River remained swollen on Wednesday as it received a heavy flood due to rainfall over the last couple of days. Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Y.S. Jagan Mohan Reddy held a high-level meeting and reviewed the situation. Heavy rains also lashed many parts of Karnataka, flooding low-lying areas and disrupting normal life. According to state administration, 320 houses were damaged in the last 24 hours and 326 persons were shifted to 13 relief camps in north interior Karnataka. The Bhima River is overflowing and has flooded low-lying areas in the city of Kalburgi. Normal life was also severely hit in many parts of Odisha, following very heavy rains from past 2 days. Around 500 people from 12 villages of Gajapati district were shifted from vulnerable areas to cyclone shelters as a precautionary measure. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
President Ramnath Kovind on Wednesday expressed concern over loss of lives and destruction caused by heavy rain in Hyderabad and parts of Telangana. President Kovind spoke to the Governor of Telangana, Dr. Tamilisai Soundarajan, and Chief Minister K. Chandrasekhar Rao, and said that in this hour of crisis, the nation stands united with the people of Telangana. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu has expressed anguish at the loss of lives and devastation caused by heavy rains in Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka and Odisha. He expressed his condolences to the bereaved families. In a tweet, the Vice President urged the people to stay safe and follow instructions issued by the local authorities. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi also spoke to Telangana Chief Minister K. Chandrasekhar Rao and Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Y.S. Jagan Mohan Reddy after the two states were hit by heavy rains and assured them of all possible support and assistance from the centre in the rescue and relief work. Well, the Delhi Pollution Control Committee on Wednesday banned the use of electricity generator sets of all capacities running on diesel, petrol, kerosene from the 15th of October to tackle air pollution in the winter season. However, essential and emergency services like hospitals, railways will remain exempted. The decision comes a day after the national capital's air quality on Tuesday deteriorated to the very poor category for the first time this season. Although on Wednesday, Delhi's air quality was in the poor category. The government-run monitoring agency, SAFAR, stated that the air quality index was not likely to improve for the next 2 days. In order to step up efforts for ensuring better air quality, 50 teams of Central Pollution Control Board will also be deployed to make extensive field visits from October 15, 2020 to February 28, 2021. Feedback on polluting activities will be shared with concerned agencies through an automated system for quick action. Details will also be shared with state governments. This will help in taking timely action and monitoring at appropriate levels by the concerned agencies. Meanwhile, the centre has taken a slew of measures in the last 6 years to curb pollution. Speaking exclusively to Rajya Sabha TV, Environment, Forest and Climate Change Minister Prakash Javadekar said to reduce stubble burning, machines with subsidy are being given and various other interventions are promoted to curb air pollution. Let's listen in. Air pollution that increases in winter is one of the risk factors for the COVID-19 virus. The Environment Ministry has finalized its strategy to curb air pollution. In an interview to Rajya Sabha TV, Environment, Forest and Climate Change Minister Prakash Javadekar said migration to BS6 and subsidy for electric vehicles will be major steps to reduce pollution.
BS6 compliant vehicles are also on road, and now BS6 fuel is also available. So there is pollution reduction. There is many congestion spots which have been channelized properly, and now they don't have the congestion.
Javadekar said in view of the approaching winter and festival season, the government has launched the second round of public awareness campaign to fight COVID-19. The government has also issued guidelines for hospitals and quarantine centers to dispose of waste generated after admission of COVID-19 patients.
After the COVID, this was then hazardous waste which needs to be managed properly. So we issued the supplementary guidelines, and we are monitoring it very strictly. All states are on board.
The Union Minister also said various measures taken by the government to ensure economic recovery are showing results. In this regard, he cited figures for September that show near normalcy in GST collection, production, auto sales, electric supply and petrol consumption. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha Television. Well, the sitting of the Standing Committee on Home Affairs 2021 was held on Wednesday. After the reconstitution of committees, Rajya Sabha member Anand Sharma has been appointed as the chairman of the committee.
The Standing Committee on Home Affairs held a sitting on Wednesday to decide its future program. After the parliamentary committees were constituted earlier this year, from the upper house, the members on the Standing Committee on Home Affairs are S.R. Balasubramanian, P. Bhattacharya, Anil Jain, Satish Chandra Mishra, Anand Sharma, Neeraj Shekhar, Ramchandra Prasad Singh, Rakesh Sinha, Dinesh Trivedi and Bhupender Yadav. Committee members from the Lok Sabha are Sanjay Bhatia, Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, Kakoli Ghosh Dasidar, Dilip Ghosh, Dulal Chandra Goswami, Kiran Kher, Gajanan Chandrakant, Kirti Kar, Dayanidhi Maran, Raja Naik, Chamyang Namgyal, R. Hinduram Naik, Nimbalkar, Lalu Bhai, Babu Bhai Patel, Gajendra Singh Patel, R.K. Singh Patel, Vishnu Dayal Ram, P. Ramulu, Sarmishtha Sethi, Satyapal Singh, Rajveer Singh, Ravneet Singh and Geeta Vanga. The Committee on Home Affairs presently deals with sensitive and important ministries and departments of Home Affairs, personnel, public grievances and pensions, and also development of the northeastern region. Kriti Mishra, Rajya Sabha TV.
In Bihar, campaigning for the 28th October Assembly election has intensified. Beginning his election tours with a public meeting at Banka, Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar on Wednesday sought votes for his party's candidates. He also listed achievements of his government in the last 15 years. Earlier, he addressed a virtual rally from the party headquarters in a bid to reach out to maximum number of people during the election.
जब काम करने का मौका मिला उसके पहले ही से हमने जो अभियान चलाया था, उस अभियान में न्याय यात्रा के अभियान में हमने कहा कि हम लोग करेंगे क्या, न्याय के साथ विकास। और न्याय के साथ विकास का मतलब है हर इलाके का विकास और समाज के हर तबके का उत्थान। जो किनारे पर हैं, हाशिए पर हैं, उनको मुख्य धारा से जोड़ने के लिए सब तरह का प्रयास हम लोग करते रहे।
Well, the BJP on Wednesday issued its fourth list of 35 candidates for the Bihar Assembly polls, and with this, the party has named all its nominees for the 110 seats that it is contesting in the three-phase election starting from October 28th. RJD leader, meanwhile, Tejasvi Yadav, has filed nomination papers from Raghopur Assembly seat. Tejasvi is seeking re-election from Raghopur seat he won in 2015. Loktantrik Janata Dal Chief Sharad Yadav's daughter Subhashini Raj Rao has joined the Congress. The Congress is all set to field her from one of the seats in Madhepura district. LJP leader and former MP Kali Pandey also joined the party. Well, moving on to some other news now, where Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on Wednesday participated in the G20 finance ministers and central bank governors meet to discuss the global economic outlook and response to COVID-19 crisis. She said India, as co-chair of the G20 Framework Working Group, has ensured that the commitments in G20 Action Plan in response to COVID-19 are updated to keep it relevant and effective as the crisis evolves. G20 finance ministers and CV governors have agreed to extend the G20 debt service suspension initiative for a period of 6 months till June 2021.
Two, it is critical to balance health and economic objectives while planning the recovery process. Three, the importance of assessing the spillover from domestic policy actions and exploring ways to coordinate to minimize spillover effects.
Well, it's time now to take stock of the COVID-19 situation in the country. The trend of more people recovering from the pandemic compared to new cases being added continues across the country. At the same time, there has been a steady decline in new cases and deaths caused due to the virus.
COVID-19 recoveries exceeded new cases by more than 11,000 on Wednesday. The recovery rate has improved to 87.05%. About 63 lakh patients in the country have recovered so far, the highest in the world. The number of fatalities stood at 1,10,586 after 730 deaths were reported in the last 24 hours. Death rate continues to be steady and one of the lowest in the world at 1.53%. Total COVID-19 cases increased to 72.39 lakh on Wednesday morning after over 63,000 new cases were reported in the last 24 hours. At 8.26 lakh, active cases also show a steady decline and comprise only 11.42% of the total positive cases. Single-day infections in India have also shown a steady and significant decline as compared to the last month when the country was reporting 80,000 to 90,000 cases in a day. With a continued emphasis on test, treat and trace strategy, India has so far tested over 9 crore samples. 11.45 lakh tests have been conducted in the last 24 hours, giving a cumulative figure of 9 crore 90,000 tests so far. The country is now testing over 65,000 samples per million people on average. TPR, that stands for test positivity rate or the ratio of positive cases to the number of tests conducted, is also declining. From 8.35% in early October, the TPR now stands at 8.04%, but it is higher than the WHO recommended 5%. Kerala, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh reported the highest 24-hour increase in new cases, while Maharashtra, Karnataka, West Bengal and Tamil Nadu and Delhi reported maximum deaths in the same period. For the first time ever on Wednesday, India reported below 1% growth in COVID-19 cases, but this figure varies in states. At 3.26%, cases in Kerala are growing at the fastest pace. The state reported the maximum number of new cases on Tuesday. Total infections have now crossed 3 lakh and the state has the 7th largest caseload in the country. It also has the 3rd highest active cases after Maharashtra and Karnataka, but has managed to keep the mortality rate in check. Over 1,000 people have succumbed to the disease since January, when the state reported the first infection of novel coronavirus in the country. The state reported its first 1 lakh cases in 9 months in September, but in the last 1 month, over 2 lakh new cases were added in the state. Meanwhile, confirming that at least 3 cases of reinfections, 2 in Mumbai and 1 in Ahmedabad have been identified, the ICMR said India is taking 100 days as the cutoff period for identifying reinfection of novel coronavirus cases. According to the World Health Organization, there are about 24 reinfection cases in the world. However, the definition of reinfection, whether 90 days, 100 days or 110 days, has not been decided by the Global Health Organization. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, after remaining shut for nearly 7 months, cinema halls will open from Thursday with full precautions against COVID-19 as directed by the centre under Unlock 5.0 guidelines. According to the government, theatres can resume operations with 50% capacity, while sanitization of halls after each screening has been made mandatory. Seats have to be left vacant for social distancing and are marked with fluorescent markers. Crowding in lobbies, common areas and lifts is not allowed. The guidelines suggest longer intermissions to allow audiences seated in different rows to move in a staggered manner. However, the government has left the states to take a final call in this regard. While states like Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh, Haryana, Punjab, West Bengal, Karnataka and Gujarat will resume operations from Thursday, governments of Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Odisha have not allowed cinema halls to reopen until the 31st of October. However, several states including Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, Telangana and Assam have issued no directive in this regard. Well, in view of the upcoming winters and festive season, the Health Ministry has cautioned against the spike in coronavirus cases. Observing the respiratory nature of coronavirus, the ministry warned that the infection is likely to rise in the coming months and urged people to follow COVID-19 appropriate behavior. Further, it also appealed to people not to host gatherings during festivities that may turn into a super spreader event.
कोविड-19 का जो वायरस है वो एक रेस्पिरेटरी वायरस है। वो हमारे रेस्पिरेटरी पैसेजेस से, श्वास के पैसेजेस से ही अंदर आता है। और जो रेस्पिरेटरी वायरसेस होते हैं उनकी टेंडेंसी होती है कि वो सर्दी के मौसम में उनका प्रकोप कई तरह से बढ़ता है। ये वायरस की टेंडेंसी बढ़ जाती है, इसका थ्राइव ज़्यादा करता है ठंड के मौसम में ये वायरसेस एज अ ग्रुप, और ये भी हम एज्यूम करते हैं कि वैसे ही बिहेव करेगा। तो एक कॉमन सोच है कि विंटर में हमें और भी प्रिकॉशन लेनी चाहिए।
Well, Hyderabad-based Dr. Reddy's Laboratories has reapplied to the Drugs Controller General of India seeking permissions to conduct both second and third phases of human trials of the Russian COVID-19 vaccine Sputnik V in the country. Earlier, the firm had asked for permission to directly hold phase 3 trial for the vaccine in India. The firm has now submitted a revised protocol for carrying out the clinical trials. The Indian company has collaborated with the Russian Direct Investment Fund to conduct clinical trials and distribution of the potential vaccine in the country. Phase 3 trials of Sputnik V is underway in Russia since September 1st, involving 40,000 subjects. The vaccine has been developed by the Gamaleya Institute and RDIF. Meanwhile, Pune-based Serum Institute of India is conducting phases 3 clinical trials of the Oxford vaccine in India. The result of the trial are expected by end of November or early December this year.
ऑक्सफोर्ड वैक्सीन है जो कि हमारी बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट कंपनी है, सीरम इंस्टीट्यूट, बहुत कैपेसिटी है, उनका नाम है वैक्सीन बनाने में। उनकी तरफ से बनाया भी जा रहा है और उसका फेज़ 3 ट्रायल इंडिया में भी हो रहा है और वो ट्रायल 15-16 जगह पे हो रहा है। और ये ट्रायल एक इंटरनेशनल ट्रायल का हिस्सा है जिसमें कि और साइट्स भी हैं, अमेरिका भी है, यूके भी है और भी कई कंट्रीज़ हैं। और उस ट्रायल की भी प्रोग्रेस यहाँ तक अच्छी है, अभी तक बहुत अच्छी चल रही है, ऑन ट्रैक है और इसके रिजल्ट्स जो हैं वो नवंबर एंड दिसंबर के किसी फेज़ के लगभग आने की उम्मीद है।
Besides two indigenously developed vaccine candidates, one by Bharat Biotech in collaboration with ICMR and another one by Zydus Cadila, are progressing well in the phase 2 human clinical trials. Globally, 10 COVID-19 vaccine candidates are in phase 3 trials. Well, in other news, now the Supreme Court has asked the central government to implement interest waiver on loans of up to 2 crore rupees under the RBI moratorium scheme as soon as possible. A 3-judge bench on Wednesday heard a batch of petitions seeking interest waiver during the loan moratorium. Solicitor General Tushar Mehta told the court that the government's decision would come into effect before the 15th of November. Earlier this month, the centre agreed to waive compound interest charged on loans of up to 2 crore rupees for a 6-month moratorium period announced due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The aim was to give borrowers more time to clear payments of EMIs without being classified as non-performing assets. The top court adjourned the matter till November 2nd. Well, the National Testing Agency held the National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test on Wednesday for candidates who couldn't take the medical entrance test last month. The re-examination was held between 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. The second round of examination was held for the COVID-19 affected students and those in containment zones. Of the 15.97 lakh registered candidates, 14.37 lakh students appeared for the exam on 13th September. The combined result for the exam held on 13th September and 14th October will be declared on the 16th of October. NEET is a national level entrance exam for admissions to undergraduate medical and allied programs in the country. Well, in continuation with his posts on forgotten women freedom fighters, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu remembered Odisha's eminent freedom fighter Rama Devi Chowdhury. The Vice President recalled the role played by Rama Devi and said she was affectionately called Ma by the people of Odisha. The Vice President reminded everyone that other than Mahatma Gandhi's Dandi March, similar marches were held in Balasore and Jagat Singhpur of Odisha, and these were organized by a group of women committed to Gandhian ways. He added that Rama Devi led the Inchudi Salt March in Balasore, and in 1930 she took an active part in organizing the Salt Satyagraha in different parts of Odisha. The Vice President said that the post-independence Rama Devi continued her work of spreading Gandhian ideals in various capacities. Terming Rama Devi as a true Gandhian who dedicated her life in the service of the nation, Vice President Venkaiah Naidu said she left behind her legacy in the form of Shishu Vihar and Cancer Care Center at Cuttack. And in some good news for our viewers, Rajya Sabha TV's YouTube channel added 5 million or 50 lakh subscribers today, emerging as one of the fastest expanding channels on YouTube in the news space. Here's more. Notching up yet another milestone, Rajya Sabha TV added 1 million or 10 lakh organic subscribers in just over 10 months. Over the last 3 years, Rajya Sabha TV's YouTube channel has grown at a phenomenal pace. In 2020, viewers spent over 16.6 million hours watching Rajya Sabha TV content online, indicating that there is space and hunger to consume accurate, fact-based news programming related to lawmaking, parliament, economic development, and major national and international events. Vice President and Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu took to Twitter to compliment the channel on its new milestone. Here's what the Vice President's Secretariat tweeted. Glad to know that Rajya Sabha TV today reached another landmark of 5 million YouTube subscribers. Only a few other channels have this distinction. I compliment the channel management and all the editorial and technical professionals of the channel. We wish the channel more laurels. On YouTube, the channel had a subscriber base of less than 4.5 lakh in August 2017 when M. Venkaiah Naidu took over as the chairman of the Rajya Sabha. Since then, the channel has gained over 45 lakh subscribers in just 38 months. The channel is now far ahead of many other mainstream news channels in India, including India Today, DD News, Times Now, and CNN News 18. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television. Well, I'd like to thank all our viewers for your continued support and for everything that you've done really as far as Rajya Sabha TV is concerned. And with that, it's a wrap on this telecast. But before we leave, Rajya Sabha TV would like to appeal to all its viewers to stay safe from the COVID-19 pandemic. Wear face masks, wash hands and face regularly, and maintain physical distancing while stepping outside. Remember, these simple precautions are all that it takes to defeat the pandemic.